Ms. Holly Lusardi is a County College of Morris graduate, which makes us all very proud here. In addition to her associate's degree in computer programming from CCM, Holly has a bachelor's degree in international relations from the University of Delaware, a graduate database certification from Stevens Institute of Technology, and when I last saw Holly in, I guess it was early spring, she was on the cusp of a master's degree in software engineering from the Stevens Institute of Technology, and I think we can all join in congratulating Holly on, she's now got her master's degree in computer science and software engineering from Stevens Institute of Technology. To give you a sense of Holly's expertise, there's a long list of computer programming tools that she's expert in, so I'm just going to read you the list to give you a sense of the scope. Holly has expertise in C#, C++, C, Ada95, Visual Basic, Crystal Reports, COBOL, JCL, PC Assembler, Natural Basic, Expression Web, Front Page, Dreamweaver, Fireworks, Flash, Adobe, HTML, JavaScript, I'll just keep going here, .NET, MS Office, MS Visio, Doors, what else did I miss? MS Server 2003, SQL Server 2008, DB2, Adabase, and something called TCP Socket Initialization Connection. It's a lot of languages. I'm not sure we can say that Holly's multilingual, but I think it's safe to say she's multi-computational. She has a wide variety of experience in applications, including e-commerce, nonprofit telecommunications, government agencies, financial services, and most interesting, military hardware. Go figure. During her career, she has been a business analyst, a senior systems engineer, a programmer analyst, and today is a software engineer for a major defense contractor and is based at Picatinny Arsenal. I can't talk about Holly's work because I think it would compromise national security, but please join me in welcoming Holly Lusardi.
Thank you, Dean Enright. And yes, you can all sleep safely. Your national security is in my hands. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to County College of Morris and the 20th Annual Women Who Dare Conference. Today we have faculty and students from many area high schools, including Dover, Parsippany Hills, Jefferson, Whippany Park, Mendham, Sussex and Passaic County Technical Schools, and not on my list were, I believe, Chatham, Mount Olive, and West Morris. What a wonderful group of selected students you are. Welcome. I also want to thank your teachers for getting you here today. Thank you also to CCM faculty and administration for organizing this fantastic event. My name is Holly Lusardi, and I'm a software engineer for the Department of Defense. I'm very excited to be with you today to talk about a career that I love and help you explore some non-traditional careers for women. Hopefully, after the end of today, you might be interested in pursuing one of these careers. So, show of hands, I understand we have juniors and sophomores here today. How many sophomores? Okay, quite a few. Juniors? Okay, great. Well, sophomores, you're a bit ahead of the game, which is wonderful. That's always good. And juniors, you're right in the driver's seat. A year from now, you are going to know where you're going to college. The national college decision deadline is May 1st, and it's truly the most exciting time in your young life. And okay, I'll tell you, I'm a little jealous. I would guess that a lot of the adults in the room might agree with me that we would love a do-over and love to be in the position you're in. There is so many options, so many possibilities, so much to do, so much work to get done. All that being said, oops, wrong way. We also know that the college selection process can be very overwhelming and stressful. You're going to worry, your parents are going to worry, your friends are going to worry, but I want to tell you it's all going to work out. There's a college for everybody, and you will find your match. And I say that with confidence because I have gone through the process with 3 daughters of my own. My youngest daughter's a senior at Sparta High School, and last week she committed to the University of Delaware after a year-long stressful search. Some of the things you're probably feeling about college: you're excited, you're confused, you're anxious. So what can you do to help alleviate some of these stressful feelings? Plan. The best way to take control is to plan. And you are all planning by being here today. Juniors, in a couple of months, you will begin to fill out the common application. Show of hands, how many of you know what the common application is? That's wonderful. You're going to become intimately familiar with it. It's a beautiful thing. And what you'll need to do is the colleges want to know what field of study you want to go into. So they're going to ask, what do you want to major in? Show of hands. How many of you know what you want to major in college? Okay, that's great. The rest of you, you're probably sitting there going, yikes, I have no idea what I want to do with the rest of my life. And that's okay. You're not alone. Nobody expects you to have all the answers at 17 years old. Additionally, it's highly likely, even those of you who know what you want to major in, that you will change your major while you're in college. A New York Times article in November stated at the University of Florida, 61% of students change their majors by the end of the second year. At Penn State, 80% of freshmen are uncertain about their current major, and half of them will change their minds, sometimes more than once. So that's what today is all about: exploring your career possibilities, opening your mind to new opportunities, thinking about what interests you, and learning how to pursue those interests. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my education and career experiences. We're going to talk about some non-traditional careers for women, and then I'd like to introduce you to some real women who dare. First and foremost, I am a Parsippany High School alum, and my girls represented quite well. Thank you very much. Go Red Hawks. No need to talk about what year I graduated. After leaving PHS, I attended the University of Delaware, where I graduated with a degree in international relations. I thought at the time maybe I might want to be a lawyer, but instead, my career path took a radical turn. In the early 80s, there were not many software engineers. Whoops, let's get rid of this, excuse me. There were not many software engineers, and I was hired by a company called Electronic Data Systems, EDS, which developed their own internal training program for software engineers so that they could put people quickly through the program and get out massive amounts of desperately needed software engineers. At the time, I had no idea if I would like software development or if I would be good at it, but it turned out that both were true. After completing the training program, I continued to work for EDS as a software engineer for 11 years, and I worked on multiple accounts for the government and AT&T. And when I had my third daughter, I decided that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom for a while. So I left my career, and during that time, I had some different kinds of odd jobs, one of which, believe it or not, was one of my favorites, was a substitute teacher. I'm not sure how much my kids liked that, especially when they were in high school. But as my kids started to get older and nearing college age, I realized I was going to need to go back to work full time. So I came to CCM to update my technical skills because, as you can imagine, over 10 years, technology had changed radically. And CCM is a wonderful place. I made a lot of connections. I met a lot of great people. I had wonderful professors. And if you don't know what you want to do, this is a great place to start. I highly recommend it. When I was graduated from CCM, I was hired by a company called UTRS, and I work for the Department of Defense at Picatinny Arsenal. This is the project I work on. It's called the Paladin. We're not allowed to call it a tank. We're supposed to refer to it as a self-propelled field artillery vehicle, but basically it's a tank. And as Dean Enright said, 5 years ago, I began my quest for a master's in software engineering, which I did mostly online, which was a beautiful thing because it fit in very well with my busy life. I love my job. It's challenging. I'm always learning new things. And I get to work individually and as a team. So why do I have such a passion for women in non-traditional careers? Well, first of all, I am one, and I want some company. Even in 2014, I can sit in a meeting today with 15 to 20 people, and I'm the only woman. At the time, I don't think of myself as a woman per se. I think of myself as a software engineer. But it sure would be great to have some company. Women have many strengths that are needed in technical careers. Women are often organized, empathetic, collaborative, and effective communicators. Men and women have many strengths and weaknesses that complement one another. And most importantly, we are 50% of the population, and we need to be represented in every solution. Also, I have 3 daughters, as I've mentioned. I've encouraged all of them to pursue technical careers. My oldest daughter majored in biology. She's now at Drexel Law School in a program that's a combined public health law program, and I've tasked her with solving the healthcare crisis. My second daughter majored in chemical engineering, and she's done a lot of really cool research, which I'll show you in a minute, where she burns different things, one of which is garbage, to take the gas that's produced to fuel a car. So I've tasked her with solving the economic energy crisis. My third daughter is majoring in computer science, and we haven't figured out what problem she's going to solve yet, but we're working on it. So, why do we need women? In April, the U.S. Department of Labor announced $1.8 million funding opportunity to support women in non-traditional occupations. And the U.S. Secretary of Labor Perez said, having half of our population underrepresented in high-skilled, high-paying jobs of the future isn't good for the economic prosperity of our country. Here's some interesting research from MIT that says some early voice recognition systems that were developed were calibrated to typical male voices, which meant women's voices went virtually unheard. A predominantly male group of engineers tailored the first generation of automotive airbags to adult male bodies, resulting in avoidable deaths to women and children. Women are half the population, and they need to be part of every solution. So today you're going to be exploring these careers: engineering, science, and engineering technologies, hospitality management and culinary arts, information technologies, mathematics, and business administration. What is STEM? How many of you have heard that acronym before? Show of hands, okay? It's a big buzzword right now, and it stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And there is a countrywide effort to get young women more interested in STEM careers. There's also a big effort to get STEM curriculum, specifically technology and engineering, into the K through 12 core curriculum. Why is that? Well, Victoria Waterman stated in her article, Encouraging Girls in STEM Careers, last year the U.S. STEM workforce surpassed 7.4 million workers, and it's expected to grow significantly through 2018 to an estimated 8.65 million jobs. At current university graduation rates, it's estimated that the United States will be only able to fill half those positions. Additionally, she says that cloud computing jobs, 1.7 million cloud computing jobs will be created by 2015. And by 2018, the bulk of STEM jobs will be in computing, followed by engineering. Today, only 1 in 7 engineers is a woman. So here's a little graph that shows you the percent of new STEM jobs by sector. You can see that computing has the largest piece of the pie, 71%, and the biggest piece of computing is in software engineering, which is like what I do. According to the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, women in STEM fields earn on average 33% more than women in other fields. And here's just a quick job fact. Oops. For positions for what I do, software developers, the median salary is over $93,000 a year, with the job growth expected to be 22% over the next 8 years, which is much higher than the average. According to Waterman, what girls need to succeed in STEM and non-traditional careers is a support system. They need adults who believe in their abilities, women who are in these fields to act as role models, and other girls who share their interests. Today, you will be receiving all of these things. Your teachers and parents believe in your abilities. That's why you're here today. I'm going to introduce you to some real women who dare, young women who have pursued these careers, not much older than you, and they are role models in the fields. And today you're going to meet other girls who share your interests. So let's meet some real women who dare. Meet Janina Vitucci. Whoops, sorry about that. Janina, sorry about that. Janina grew up in Titusville, Florida. She has a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from the University of Florida, and she's currently pursuing her master's in mechanical engineering at Purdue University. Her research is in the area of biomechanics, specifically passive and semi-active exoskeletons. And you see Janina here showing off one of her research items. It's an assistive exoskeleton, and it's used to help people who can't walk on their own. Janina also had an internship in her undergrad experience where she worked for General Electric. She designed these electrical panels for new gas turbines. The panels were sent to Algeria to be used in an area which had never had electric power before. This is my daughter, Holly Lusardi. She graduated from Sparta High School. She has her bachelor's in chemical engineering, a master's in earth resources engineering, which is like environmental engineering, and she's currently working on her PhD at MIT. And as I mentioned, her research focuses on converting waste biomass, for example, agricultural byproducts like corn stalks, also garbage, into transportation fuels. During her undergrad experience, Marcella went to Tulsa, Oklahoma for a week to consult on the development of a waste-to-energy plant running on municipal solid waste, which is a euphemism for garbage, resulting in the production of energy and a 90% decrease in occupied landfill volume. And here are some other careers that you could get involved in. Basically, there's probably something you could do with engineering in any field you were interested in: aerospace, agricultural, automotive, biomedical, civil, computer, electrical, environmental, industrial, mining, petroleum, and systems. This is Laura McNeil. Laura went to Blair Academy, and she has a bachelor's in hospitality administration from Boston University. She's currently working on her master's in advertising at Boston University, and she is the events and marketing director at a restaurant in Boston called the North Star Restaurant. Excuse me. She's in charge of all event planning, assisting guests in planning events, preparing contracts, promoting and facilitating events, and maintaining the restaurant's website. This is Melissa Principe. Melissa went to high school in Cedar Park, Texas. She has a bachelor's in applied mathematics from Baylor University. And last week, she completed her master's in analytics at North Carolina State University. Analytics is being called the sexiest career of the 21st century. And they can't they can't produce enough qualified people for their need. The program that Melissa was accepted into was condensed from a 2-year to a 1-year program in an effort to get graduates out. So what the heck is analytics? Well, when you take a moment and think about the massive volumes of data that are collected every day on Facebook, Twitter, sports information, healthcare, government, massive, massive amounts of data. The data needs to be analyzed by qualified people, and the results of the analysis are used to forge marketing trends for business. So this right now is a huge field. If you're interested in mathematics, you might want to consider this. This is Amy Zhang. She's from Plano, Texas, and she has a BS in computer science from Rutgers University and a master's in advanced computer science from the University of Cambridge. She's currently a PhD candidate in computer science at MIT. Her research is in the area of human-computer interaction and social computing, or how to design and build interfaces that make various human interactions easier and how to mine online social data to draw insights to this. Amy had, during her undergrad, she had an internship with Twitter, where she got to work with the Twitter Fire Hose, which is a data set complete with Twitter messages, excuse me, going back a year, which amounts to about 1 billion tweets every 2.5 days. So you can imagine how much fun that would be to go through that information. And she used data analysis to geographically tag sections of the fire hose to a specific city to identify what kind of trends are happening in various cities and, you know, what people are doing throughout the country. Okay. This is Chiara Vitolo, and Chiara went to Sparta High School. She graduated last week from the University of Pittsburgh with a degree in information science. And that information science is a major that combines business applications with computer science, as opposed to computer science is more of a strictly a technical degree, like software development. Chiara is more in the business aspect of it. She had an internship last summer with Bank of New York Mellon in New York City, and she shadowed a project manager there, and they hired her full-time upon graduation to be a project manager. This is Alicia Lefkin. She went to Jefferson High School, and she was accepted into a 5-year program at Monmouth University, where she stayed for 5 years and received a BS in Business Administration while she minored in Information Technology, and she also got her MBA, Master of Business Administration. She recently sat for and passed all 4 parts of the Certified Public Accountant exam, which is extremely difficult. So now she has that professional licensing as well. And she works for PricewaterhouseCoopers as a risk assurance internal auditor. Alicia said her advice is you should always take up networking opportunities when you can, because she had an internship with a PricewaterhouseCoopers client the summer before when she was in grad school. That's how she landed her current job at PricewaterhouseCoopers. And that brings me to the point where today you can embark on your first networking opportunity by stepping outside yourself and meeting girls from other high schools in the area. Lessons learned. Amy Zhang, the computer scientist, her lesson that she learned along the way in a male-dominated, challenging field is that persistence is a lot more important than brilliance. You don't have to be a genius, #1 in your class, 1,600 on the SATs, okay? If you want to do any of these careers, you can do it. You will succeed if you persist and work hard. You're willing to work hard. So today we touched on just a few of the opportunities available to you. And it's not all about available jobs and high salaries, which is one benefit of getting involved in some of these technical careers, but all of these fields help people, and they serve to make the world a better place. So today I challenge you to explore these careers, dream about your future, and discover something that might interest you. And most of all, have fun and meet your fellow, your girls here at the conference, and network with people. I wish you all the best of luck in your college search and your career search. If you ever have any questions about any of the things that you talk about here, I'd be happy to try to answer them or connect you with people, young women. All of the women that I introduced you to would be happy to speak to you about their fields, their experiences, their careers. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to email me. Thank you. So, does anybody have any questions I might be able to answer? No questions? Come on. This morning I asked my daughter, who's a senior, I said, what question might you ask me at the end of the presentation? And she said, oh, I wouldn't ask a question. I'm too nervous to do that. So who's brave enough? You got to have a question. Something about college, college search, the college process, majors, careers. Yes? That's a great question. As I mentioned, at that moment, I think of myself as a software engineer, not a woman necessarily. I think you learn to overcome that by developing relationships with other women in the field, and having those people to talk about your experiences with. And it's something that over time you get used to. I mean, you become confident in your abilities. And again, you don't think of yourself as a woman. You think of yourself as that person in the job position. Anybody else? Yes. Let me think about that. I can honestly say no. I'm just trying to think back. When I early in my career at EDS, I was lucky to have a lot of women at the time that were hired by the company, and they were great mentors for me. And since they were in higher positions, they never looked upon women any differently. And even at the job that I am currently at, I get teased more for being old than for being a woman, because I do work with a lot of younger people, and they like to, bust my chops about being a mother and being old. But no, I can honestly say that I have not, thankfully. Anybody else? Yes. I know that some people have experienced that. Again, fortunately, I have not had that experience, but I have a friend who works as a corporate executive, and I started out with her at EDS, and she ended up going up the ranks. And I do know that she has challenges with salaries in higher positions. And I think that she does feel she has to work harder to be in the same position. But we can't give up, because things are getting better. There are a lot of female corporate executives. Hewlett-Packard has a female female CEO, and we just need to keep working at it, because things are getting much better and better for women in the workplace. Yes. That's an excellent question. As I said, it was over a 10-year period, so things had changed. You can imagine now, how often do you get a software update for your cell phone? That's how quickly things change nowadays. But this was over a 10-year period. In the programming field, we went from into object-orienting programming, which I was not familiar with. I had always worked with structured programming. And when I got back into the field, everything was object-oriented. And that's why I came to CCM. And I had some wonderful professors. Nancy Banowski, I took her C# class, and that's where I learned about object-oriented programming. And it was great because when I got to my current job, we use a language called Ada, which is used in military applications. And it's object-oriented. So I was familiar with the process. So yes, but you need to re-educate yourself and get back in there, which is what I did. Is the pay rewarding? Yes. Yes, I would say that, as I mentioned, some of the salaries, the young woman I mentioned who has a degree in analytics, okay, she's 23, never had a real job yet. She's starting with a company called Illicit Insights for almost $100,000 a year at 23 years old. So that position, as I said, they are in such high demand for this skill set that the starting salaries are very high. Absolutely, yes. I would say specifically in the STEM areas, you will be able to find a well-paying job when you graduate. My middle daughter, she had job offers when she finished her master's, and they were offers that she got from the company that she did her internship with. As Alicia mentioned, you want to network, you have internships. Also to note, computer science internships are typically paid because the demand is high. Whereas I know my oldest daughter is doing a law internship this summer, and it's not paid because there are a lot of attorneys, people in law school, supply and demand. She has to take an unpaid internship. But what I've seen is that Picatinny hires interns for the summer. And a lot of companies, as I mentioned, Amy worked for Twitter. She had a great summer job working for Twitter. My daughter's boyfriend is a computer science. He worked for Google. I met a young man at TCNJ who had a job, an internship he got through TCNJ with Amazon, and he was making $32 an hour as an intern. So there are definitely opportunities for paid internships and good jobs when you get out of college, especially for women. Yes? I'm sorry? CCM does have internships. When I was working at CCM, I actually did find a part-time job for a fellow who had his own e-commerce business, and I worked for him for a while, paid, before I got my job at Picatinny. And I know they have a lot of good internships on their career services website. Yes? Well, that's a great question. I think by being here today, it's a great place to start. You'll learn a lot about the fields. You should consider, if you think you're interested in that, I would recommend you look at colleges that offer engineering programs, as well as other things, because it's possible you may get to college and decide you don't want to be an engineer. That's what I told my daughter. My youngest daughter is going to University of Delaware, and I said, you know, if you go there, you can change your major to anything if you decide that computer science is not for you. So if you're not sure, you can always apply and change your major when you get there. You can get into engineering, and then you might go between different fields. My middle daughter started as a physics major because in high school she said, I love physics and I'm going to major in it. And a lot of people told her, you know, that was probably not the way to go, where the jobs were, but she had to learn for herself. When she got to college, she first was in environmental engineering undergrad, and then she got into chemical engineering. So you learn as you go. You ask a lot of questions, ask people, you know, people who are currently in the fields, what they're doing, and that's how you find out what you want to get into. Anybody else? Yes. Well, I think first I would say I recommend anything that interests you, because you want to like your job. So that's important. And once you can be in any of the fields. I know young women, I didn't have her up here, but she majored in civil engineering, and she went to Manhattan College, and she got a job with a consulting firm in Manhattan working on the Freedom Tower right out of college, and now the company is paying for her to go to grad school at Stevens. So she was a civil engineer. So I think, you know, you have to pursue what you're really interested in, and then you take it from there. Yes? If you combine, that's a great question. I think that yes, if you have an idea of a field that you want to get into, you can create your own major and forge your way into that field. My daughter is very interested in psychology, and she's majoring in computer science, but there's a new field of study called cognitive science that combines computer science and psychology, because basically a computer is like the human brain, and the two fields go very well together. So I've told her, you know, you can minor in psychology and see, you know, what interests you and take it from there. Yes? That's a great question. Let's see. What is the most rewarding? Well, as I said before, I love my job. It's very challenging. It's interesting. I work with people. I work alone. I do earn a nice salary. Benefits nowadays with computers, you can basically do any career, almost any career, at home. So it's a great, you can be a mom and still have a career. For me, I can telecommute because I work on a computer all day. If I have the computer at home, it's a great thing. The men do it too. So it's just like I said, I don't always think of myself per se as a woman in the field. I just love what I do. Anybody else? Questions? Oh, one more. Absolutely not. I did not know. I mentioned earlier that I majored in college in international relations, which has nothing to do with computer science. And I thought back then that I might want to go to law school at the time. And it was very much a random act of nature that I found myself in this situation where I was hired by this company to do software engineering. And I got into their training program, and I was scared to death because I'll admit I was not the strongest math student. I know Mrs. Oration, my Parsippany High School math teacher, would tell you that I was one of those kids in advanced math, but hanging on by a thread. And surprisingly, when I got into the field, I became more confident, and I worked hard, and I got through the training program, and I found that I loved doing software development. So I would say the answer to that is no, and I think most people don't know what they want to do when they're in high school.